Hello everybody. So today I want to talk about MicroStrategy again because the price is trading at 264 and I see my comment section and I see X and I see people are freaking out, people are afraid. What do you mean Bitcoin went up so much and MicroStrategy didn't go up that much? Why is it trading so low? So let's go in today's video. People are complaining because MSTR is not up as much as anticipated. And this is what I'm going to say. Saylor has said multiple times that he only works for the common stockholder. The common stockholder doesn't have options that expires next month. The common stockholder does not own things that are hurt by volatility. And there's a lot of short-term instruments out there that are hurt by sideways action. This is why on this channel, you may have noticed I've only shown love for the common stock. I only talk about the MSTR common stock. I know many of you are very much into MSTX, but MSTX, the 2x MSTR, is hurt by volatility decay. It's hurt by fees. There's a lot of fees in this, and the more sideways actions you have, the more fees you pay. Options is hurt from time decay. If your option expires in a month, you really don't care that what you care about is that MicroStrategy is not up right now. If you have options that expire at the end of a week, you may care that MicroStrategy is not up right now. Options are a full loss because of the time decay if your stock is not past your strike price. And so short-term instruments, I do not think work for MicroStrategy because you have a manager who is not looking at the next quarter, right? The executive chairman, Michael Saylor, is not looking at the next quarter, trying to satisfy people for their next quarter. I also find, because of the volatility itself, I find that the premiums are way too high for MSTR leaps. I know a lot of people are into leaps, deep out of the money leaps for 2027. To me, these premiums are way too high because I know from experience, I've been in the Bitcoin space since 2015, Bitcoin cannot be timed. There's entire debates of people debating whether they can even time it on a 4-year cycle. So Bitcoin cannot be timed. We don't know. We don't really know. And having a short-term instrument with an expiry date, even 12 months out, in my view, is risky because nobody really knows. Now the big talk of the town around Bitcoin is that, the bull market it may be prolonged and the bull market may go into 2026. People are saying that now. They don't know. Nobody really knows. It's all we know is the fundamentals over the long term for Bitcoin have never been so strong. But long term in Bitcoin, that means a 4-year period. As Saylor says, nobody has lost money over a 4-year period. But 4 years is a very long time in this very short term oriented market. And in fact, when you look at the performance of MicroStrategy, one realizes that performance is definitely good enough. And so if someone's into options, which, I am for certain stocks, but if someone's into options, I think the better way is to just look at the common stock as an option with no expiry date. The common stock is just a form of option with no expiry date. You're entitled to the future cash flows. If you look at the asset performance of MSTR, the common shares, frankly, in my view, it's definitely good enough. It's 93%, 94, let's round it up, like 94% average annual return each year for the past 4.58 years. It's more than NVIDIA. It's outperformed NVIDIA by a NASDAQ and a half, essentially, right? This is more than 5 times, just about 5 times the performance of the NASDAQ. If someone gets a triple X ETF on the NASDAQ, they still haven't reached the performance of MSTR. So to me, the common performance is good enough. It's good enough. And to a lot of people who don't like traditional markets, they also think that the performance of Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone is also good enough because MSTR, you have another layer of valuation, which is that price to NAV changing, being above 1. That's that other layer of valuation. So let me now talk about Saylor. Of course, the talk is also, Saylor halts Bitcoin purchases disappointing the market? Well, let me tell you my takes on this. My takes is that they have to work on volatility. The volatility was not looking nearly as good 2 weeks ago. In fact, the volatility had fallen down to 69% IV. You're getting into a many more stocks that have 69% IV. Now, the volatility after the spike this weekend and after especially the Friday price action, the numbers are not out for today, but I guarantee you it's going to be higher today. That volatility is back up at 90%. So volatility at 19% is much more attractive than volatility at 69% for options trader. This is as simple as that. Michael Saylor is working on helping out the options traders. Michael Saylor is working on MicroStrategy becoming racing fuel for these options traders, and these options traders need a lot of volatility. So that's why if the market were to know that Saylor buys every Monday, and if the market were able to estimate how much he buys every Monday, volatility would fall. And if volatility falls, traders could position themselves, which would make the volatility fall even further. And we would have a low vol stock that would not be buying by hedge fund managers for their gamma strategies, right? So this is why I want MicroStrategy to keep being volatile. And how do you do that? How do you keep the stock volatile? How do you keep the stock high octane? You do Wednesday buys, you do surprise buys, you do surprise no buys, you do surprise $1 billion buys, surprise instruments, right? You may remember the preferred, they came out of nowhere. You do surprise tweets on X, surprise CNBC interviews, surprise Saylor takes, all sorts of surprise photos with a politician, with a famous entrepreneur. You can do all of this. All of this surprise increases volatility. The volatility being increased is good for the convertible bond buyers because in my estimate, about 75% of convertible bond buyers are buying convertible bonds because they want to put on delta neutral strategy, i.e. they want to exploit gamma. They want to do strategies that benefit from volatility alone, just volatility, and that do not benefit from the price action. If you remember my video on this from a few months ago, this is akin to a racing car putting racing fuel as opposed to putting low octane fuel. MicroStrategy is the racing fuel for a hedge fund trading engine, for a hedge fund portfolio. It's the high octane, it's the volatility that a hedge fund needs to put on their gamma trade. If volatility falls, like it was falling down to the 60% range, if volatility falls, then MSTR becomes less attractive, then the convertibles become less attractive, the convertibles become less oversubscribed, and then Saylor can't generate the yield for us. So this is why I think this volatility is good. And furthermore, the volatility of MSTR is helped by Bitcoin itself. Many people in the Bitcoin community, unrelated to MSTR, just the Bitcoin community, were saying, oh, well, Bitcoin is growing to a less volatile asset. What did we see on Thursday night with Bitcoin dropping to 78? We saw that, of course, Bitcoin, it remains a volatile asset. The volatility for Bitcoin went back up. It went back really good. And then with surprise Sunday tweets from the golf course, and if we get tweets like that, I want him to go golf more because I want more of these good tweets that make the markets go up. With surprise tweets, then we had another ramp up to 95 at some point. On some broker, it hit 95,000, and we were back down at 89,000. 7-8 hours later this Monday morning. This is a roller coaster, and the roller coaster is good for the volatility, and Saylor adds on top of the volatility with his surprise behaviors, and that increases the volatility of the MSTR up much more than Bitcoin itself. And then the convertible bond buyers, the hedge funds, traders, they want to buy MSTR because they want to put on their trades. They want to have that racing fuel for their trading portfolio. And of course, if we didn't have volatility, then you would have way fewer convert buyers. And if you had way fewer convertible buyers, then you would have fewer folks owning MSTR for volatility. And the price to NAV would fall, and the ATM would not be accretive, or way less accretive if the price to NAV were to fall to something like a 1.2 or 1.3. We are not there, although we are back under 1.5 on price to NAV. Bitcoin price to MSTR price to NAV is a 1.48. Very, very cheap as it's been in a very long time. Note, the market today is also down because of uncertainty. The manufacturing ISM was one of the uncertainties of this morning, and then a few minutes ago, you had Trump talking about major reveal, a major speech, saying, "Oh, tomorrow night will be big." So now the market is holding its breath until tomorrow night. Market is like, what is he going to say about the strategic Bitcoin reserve? What is he going to say about Ukraine, about tariff? Is there going to be any wild card type statement? And so that's why the market is likely going to go in circles until we hear what the president has to say on Tuesday evening. This behavior, although it is uncomfortable for the investor, not used with roller coaster, not used with growth stocks, not used with highly volatile assets. This behavior, on the other hand, this action increases volatility, which makes the stock much more attractive to convertible bond traders. And let's not forget, the stock has to remain attractive to convertible bond traders because he has close to 20 billion left on not quite, but like 15 billion left on the convertible debt to be issued. So anyways, this was not investment advice, not financial advice. I hope my perspective helps you. This is just entertainment. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.